Hi everybody, hope you're well. For any of you that don't know me, my name is Lisa. So I'm bringing in a video which is going to be like a body of work to do with addiction. My background has always been energy healing. I believe that we are energy and we are moving into a time of more awareness of energy and how it can help us understand and expand our mind way beyond what we can see in this physical reality through the eyes, and I think it will help bring in an energy perspective to do with addiction for people that may have got some limiting beliefs around themselves, and hopefully help them. They can take something from this video that will help them, either because they're going through some kind of addiction or they are trying to help somebody within the family or close circle that is going through it. It's a big video for me. It's almost like Metatron swooped in and said, "You're ready for this now." And at first I was like, oh great, I'm something to get my teeth into. But the more I've actually sat over the last few days with this topic, the deeper that I've started to go within my own shadow self, to do with my addictions. And I've never admitted that I've had addictions myself. It's just something that I kind of considered, the person that's putting vodka on the cornflakes, or the person that is, shooting heroin or taking coke on a regular basis, cocaine. I considered that to be addiction, but actually there's so many levels of addiction to sugar, from sugar to sex to spending to working. It's across the board, and as humans we are such complex beings that we use a lot of these addictions to basically numb ourselves. And I think that's the overall message from this video. It's basically an addiction is something we do to suppress the emotions, so we don't have to look at it and we don't have to feel it and we don't have to face it. I was told last night to look in the mirror at myself, and I don't know if you've ever done this before, but it's a very uncomfortable experience, sitting with yourself and staring at yourself in the mirror, and then starting to really look at yourself and honour yourself, but also talk about the fears that you're still holding, the guilt and the shame. The shame is one of the deepest of the shadow emotions. Shame is a very difficult emotion to move out of the psyche, because we don't even want to look at it. It's so far buried within the subconscious. It's kind of like, it doesn't ever come out unless we really pull it out, kicking and screaming. When we get to the point of feeling these emotions, we're really on the verge of this complete shift in our awareness and becoming more enlightened and healing ourselves. So I'm going to just briefly explain chakras and the way that the complexity of the energy centers within our bodies. But if we understand what they are, they can help us grow and understand who we are, and why we do what we do. So basically, as I said, we are all energy. So yes, you can see yourself, you can see me now speaking as a physical body, which I call a 3D perspective, the human perspective, what we see with our eyes. But there's a whole other body that we bring in. So some of us believe that we are born out of our mom and this is it, we die and that's it. But my belief is that we come in as an energy of light, and we have a consciousness that we bring into this body to experience having a human experience on earth. Because when we are in our light body, in our energy body, there is no physicality. you know, so we wouldn't be able to see and we wouldn't be able to feel and hear and taste. So we wouldn't have the five senses and be able to walk and laugh and, you know, make love and, you know, this and eat beautiful food. So we get this amazing body to experience Earth and connect with Mother Earth. So it's a beautiful experience to come to Earth, but it can also be very, very challenging and devastating as well, you know, because the emotions are, they can be all over the place. But when we bring it back to the heart, that is where we come back to ourselves. Now, the chakras form this pillar through the body, and these energies, people call them chakras, some people call them energy centers. Basically, if we're talking about the human body, there's 7. Actually, there's more. We've got the hands and the ears and the feet and the knee. We've got a lot of chakras within the body centers, but the main body that we talk about, especially in yoga and energy healing and Reiki healing, is the 7. So working up from the root, which is the perineum area physically, this is about who we are in physical form. It's the tribe, the family, where we come from. And then we move up into the sacral, which is just between the pubic bone and just below the belly button. And this is where we hold the emotions. So it's the emotional body, it's the creative body, it's the sexual body, the sexual energy. And then we move up into the solar plexus, which is our will, our willpower, our drive, our personal will, where we can achieve. It's the fire element. It's the, you know, the get up and go, the achieving, the doing, the masculine. And then we move up into the heart, which is about one-to-one connections, having, heart feelings of love for somebody else. And then we move into the upper heart, which is more about healing the love within ourselves and moving into a more unconditional unity conscious love, which is what we call 5D right now. And this, we're moving into this collectively on the planet, and the earth is moving into this 5th dimensional frequency, which is the upper heart of unity, love, unity consciousness. That's about love for the collective, rather than from our own limited perspective of love for ourselves. It becomes more about what can I do and how can I serve humanity, rather than what's in it for me. And you'll see this playing out with people. You'll see the dynamics of, you know, what can I get out of this versus how can I help you. And that's a really important message to remember when you start to listen or to look up to a spiritual teacher, for instance, or you go on a course, you know, or you start to learn in a school or a workshop. How is that person presenting themselves? Are they coming from a win-win perspective of let's all work together, or are they coming from, you know, this is my truth but this is the truth, and what's in it for me, and the motivation of what am I getting out of it, how much money this is costing, and how it's going to serve me, being money driven. The shadow self can be wrapped up within that. So if somebody's in their higher heart, which I am, because I've done the work and I can say that absolutely with conviction, then I'm coming from a perspective of this video is going to be sent out to help somebody. And, you know, I could be out enjoying myself on a beautiful summer's day, but I want to do this video because I know it's important. So, but remember, I've done the work on my heart. So my cup is constantly filled up because I've done the work, that I know the balance of self-love and how to look after me first before I put that out there. But my spiritual path is very important to me, and doing this work is I know going to help somebody. So we move up to this higher heart, and then we move into the throat, and it's not done like this in bricks. It's constantly flowing, or it should be. So in the throat chakra is about where we birth our expression. So we bring our creative expression into form. Third eye, which is our connection to our higher self, higher wisdom, guides and angels, and then the crown. So this opens up to the higher consciousness. And then we also work with the soul star and the earth star, which is about 2 feet beneath the feet and above the head. And this is the sort of flow of the figure of 8, and in the middle is the heart. So it always comes back to the heart. So if we're, you know, balanced mind, body and soul, then the flow of this energy is constantly moving through the chakras at any one given time, and they're balanced and they're healthy, and you see that physically in a person. And if there's been trauma, especially in the first formative years between pre-birth even and 8, there will of some level been something that happened, and what that does, it shuts down a certain part or a whole part of some of the chakras, the first 3, which is the root, sacral and solar plexus, and then there becomes a stagnation and a stuckness within those energy centers, which then creates us as human beings to go off on different tangents, but also close the self off, close the heart down, I'm hearing like a warped sense of reality. And also we start to play out different roles in order to survive, and the ego takes over, the brain takes over, so we lose the connection to the heart. These experiences, excuse me, I went down the wrong hole. These experiences that we may have had in these formative years, excuse me, ooh, that's me trying to rush because I'm putting pressure on myself and I don't need to. Take a breather, Lisa. It matters, you know, it matters that I get it right. Interesting, I've had that happen in the throat, because the throat, I think, for me is still healing as I do this work more and more, questioning whether I'm good enough to do it. Interesting, thank you Metatron for that. I'm holding my talking stick now, and this is a talking stick that I made with all the chakras on. So Metatron is saying show your stick. So we've got the root, the sacral, the solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the third eye and the root chakra. And I made this as a talking stick to help people in real time hold it, because it embodies the energy of Mother Earth, but also the wood of Mother Earth, the feathers of the air and the animal spirit, the copper, which is amplifying energy. And it's powerful. It's bringing in my Native American roots, and yeah, it's just a beautiful gift that I've created, and it's took on its own energy. So I'm holding it because I need this energy right now to ground me. So we're working with all these chakras through our lifetime, and if they get blocked through a specific trauma, then it sends everything else out of balance. And if the root chakra isn't balanced, then none of the others are balanced. As we do the work to 5D, the root chakra becomes the heart chakra, which makes total sense to me because everything's rooted and grounded in the heart. But we have to clear out the shadow self of the past in order to get into this 5th dimension, higher heart center. So that's the kind of just a quick basis of the chakras and how it works. Now, these traumatic experiences that we've experienced in our formative years can be pre-birth. Mine definitely was, because my mom was a young teenager that got caught pregnant and ended up, having to get married because she made the choice to keep me. And so I was born out of fear. So I embodied the energy of fear even before I even had a chance to experience life. And I brought this energy through me from my mom and my mom's mom, because I've learned about my grandparent more since she passed over. And she came from fear because of her parents on her father's side was quite he was an alcoholic, and he was abusive when he was like that. And a lot of her family suffered with depression because of being repressed in their formative years. Thank you, Nan. I didn't even know that was coming through. So she's bringing through her experience to help me understand, we hold the energy of 7 generations back. So I'm not just holding the frequency of my mom in my cells. I'm holding the frequency of my nan and her mom's mom 7. So my nanan was suppressed, and her siblings were, because of their father's alcoholic addictions and how it changed him, and the abuse and the physical abuse, emotional, mental, that came from that. And she's showing me now that her mom was there, but emotionally she'd shut down because that was her way of coping with her addictive husband. It's very sad that these things happen and they come down the line. And part of why I'm sharing this is we don't always know that we're holding that unless, we understand energy and we also know about the past. So we have to go back in order to come to the present, in order to go forward. So I've just been aware that I'm holding the energy of alcoholic and abusive traumatic experiences from my nan's parents. Yeah, so thank you for that, Nan. And it's all going on in the subconscious brain, so it's pushed back, so we don't have to look at it and feel it because it's very scary. And so there's a plethora of things that will have happened as a child. Some of these experiences I've experienced, as in sexual abuse, as in emotional abuse, mental abuse, as I was growing up. Bullying at school is a big one, so big for teenagers. I know my daughters struggled with it. I struggled with it as a child, bullying. And I faced my biggest bully a few years ago, and I told her the impact and the devastation that she'd had on me. And I was so scared of facing her, but I did. And I did it from love. And she felt the hurt that she'd given me in that moment. And I could see she was struggling with that truth. But she came back to me later on in the evening. It was at a reunion, and she said, the reason why I did what I did as a bully was because I was hurting, because I'd just lost my mom, and that was the only way I knew how to cope. And I'm sorry. And it was a moment for us both to heal that. And bullying is such a very devastating, has a very devastating impact on the psyche, and it does make people shut down. So that's bullying is a big part of addiction that goes on to manifest in addictive behaviour, especially in overworking to prove yourself. But also then can lead to drugs, marijuana, to slow the brain down because we're constantly in flight and fight and trying to run and get somewhere. I've channeled Amy Winehouse in this video, and she talks about running away from the self. And also sexual abuse is a massive topic, and most of us, weirdly, I'm going to say most of us, a lot of us, have experienced some form of sexual abuse in our life, whether that be now or in past lives. It's very predominant within the human experience, especially going back when you think of, you know, being raped and abused like that. Women didn't have a say. You know, it was usually the men decided, and the women would have to just accept it. But I've gone back to past lives where I was literally chained up and used for sex, and it was a very difficult lifetime to sort of witness, and not being able to speak up. You know, this is where the throat chakra's been healing still, and also in this lifetime I've experienced it, and not as a child, not having a voice to express how this made me feel and what was happening and was it right. And it's all mixed up with the fact that it actually, when you're sexually abused, has some very warped feeling of feeling nice and wrong at the same time. So then abusers go on to abuse because there's some element in the subconscious of it feeling right or normal, and we play this out because it's so deep within the subconscious psyche. It doesn't actually sometimes feel like we're doing anything wrong. So this is where people know that they can't actually perform it on a one-to-one basis because societal says it's wrong. This is where then they go behind the scenes and start watching porn, and then they'll start watching child abuse because on some level it's tuning in to their own abuse as a child. And this is where we have to stop judging, which very, very difficult, I know. But if we're judging, we've not healed that part of ourself and our own psyche. So it's a massive subject, this, and one that you've got to be very healed within yourself to not judge. I can speak about a man or a woman watching child pornography from a very detached perspective and it not trigger me. And you might think, how can you possibly do that? Because I've healed myself. I've healed all parts of myself, and I can't judge. God doesn't judge. We're all here to learn and experience life, and on some level that person is hurting, and because they've experienced something within their life, and that's how it's playing out. I can do that now, and you might be very triggered by that, and that is something that you need to heal within yourself. So it's deep, guys. This is deep. And drug addiction, the fact that I can channel energies, I decided to channel Amy Winehouse because I knew that she would bring some very valuable information in, and she wants to share her story, you know, to the world. And she knew that this was always going to be her path, that it was never going to end well for her, but she's telling me that was her path. And we all have choices, and we all make decisions for ourselves, and it's just a choice, you know. Do you stay within it, or do you stop? And you could be saying, well, when you're an addict you can't stop. Yeah, I understand that, but you can make a decision to say, I need help. You can make that decision even when you are a full addict. You can make a decision to say, I need help. And that is the first step that Amy's saying. We have to be prepared to look at ourselves in the mirror and look at the shadow. So yeah, it's going to trigger people, this video, and that's why I was nervous. That's why I'm holding on to my stick, because, you know, part of me wants to stop talking because I know it's going to trigger people, but that's what Metatron's asking me to do, you know, to bring this information in so that we can heal together. Okay, so I'm also being told that when children have gone through a divorce within the parents, or the parents have been, you know, abusive to each other, that's going to shut down the sacral chakra, which embodies the emotion. It's also going to check the root chakra, because the root chakra is about safety and security, and you can't feel safe and secure when you're coming from parents that have potentially abused each other, either verbally, physically, sexually, emotionally. You can't, as a child, you can't feel safe within that environment. And you're certainly not going to feel safe if one of them leaves, because usually as a child you blame yourself. And that's a big area that I work within my coaching for clients, that we have to look at blame and guilt and shame. They are the sort of deepest parts of the shadow, which we push right away out here in the subconscious brain. We just don't want to look at it. So Spirit told me that I had to look at myself in the mirror last night, which is a very hard thing to do, and really look at yourself and face your fears. And it's amazing what emotions come up when you start to do that. So if you are a person, whether you're 52 like me, or you're a teenager, then or a young adult, it doesn't matter, because time isn't linear. So you're still, your small self is still experiencing the hurt from these traumas or experiences in the now moment, because we've shut down that part of itself and it's still active within the body and the energy centers. So you could be a person that's experienced physical abuse in the family unit growing up. You could be a person that experienced personally sexual abuse from either a parent or a sibling, or an auntie or an uncle or a friend. That certainly happened to me. And if you will shut down that part of you, because you don't have a voice to speak it, because you're usually told it's a secret, or you just know somewhere within yourself that you can't say anything because it's wrong. And so that could have played out within your life. You could have also experienced physical abuse within the house, through your parents. So you could have also experienced mental abuse, which I did, being treated different to the rest of the family, being blamed for things that weren't your fault, being the scapegoat, being labelled, black sheep, because you were different, because you probably was an empath, a sensitive, a light worker that's come here to heal the family. So you feel very alienated and isolated from the rest of the family. I came from a first marriage. My name was my dad's. I never met my dad, so I didn't have the connection to him. I didn't have the same name as my mom and then my stepdad, and then they went on to have an extended family, and they felt like a unit together, and I was on the outside. There's no blame attached to that, because I've healed it, but it's a very isolated place to be if you're in that situation. If you're the one that's got a different name, it's such a big deal. If there's a big age gap, that's a big deal. If your mom is struggling with depression, that's a big deal, because you then become the bearer of that energy. You become the carer. You become the one that needs to go out and heal the world, because you couldn't help your parent. You could be a person that's experienced a parent ending their life, suicide. Again, I'm really struggling. My throat is really struggling because I'm speaking this and thinking, wow, this is heavy. And so you could be you could be the parent that's going through this, or seeing your child go through an addiction that you are blaming yourself for. That's huge. And my advice to that is that you can only heal you. And part of healing is letting go of the guilt that you might have messed up, that you might have failed as a parent. I can take that experience, that I failed as being a mom. We have to forgive ourselves, because we're learning learnt behaviour and trying to heal learnt behaviour from our parents. So can you see this is huge? And usually, or it can, that, you know, somebody that's got depression brings that in as an energy to the kids, and if they've been if they've become like an overspender, you know, part of an addiction, it can be spending money. You know, we're spending money because we're filling a void within us that we need to bring back the love. So you could have been brought up with a parent that was constantly spending, that constantly needed to be buying something in order to feel good about themselves. I can relate to that. So then you take on that energy of, I need something, to be happy and successful, I've got to own that car, I've got to have the latest designer handbag, I've got to go out and buy something in order to feel. Yeah, when actual fact, we need to drop all that and bring it back to the heart. So it's so complex. We are complex. And addictions can go from literally eating sugar, because sugar is suppressing the emotion, but it's also part of feeding the heart. This book that I'm reading, or I've read numerous times, it's a big body of work by Anadia Judith. It's Eastern Body, Western Mind, and it's basically the whole psychology around the chakra system. And she writes this, and I'll read you this bit. It must be understood that the body has its own healing process. When we cut ourselves, it is important to clean and bandage the wound, but the natural healing process takes place beneath the bandage. We are biologically equipped with innate instincts for healing and self-preservation, and when these instincts get interrupted by trauma or ongoing stress, then our whole foundation is upset, and with it the free flowing of energy. So that's kind of what I'm trying to bring together and what I'm trying to explain. Once we experience trauma or a long period of stress, the flow of energy is interrupted, and then that creates lots of issues within the ego to survive. There's three things the human body will do when it feels attacked or it goes into fear. It's run away, hide. I always forget the third one. Or attack. That's why I never did attack. You know, it was not my way, but that's what people do. You know, they'll go on to be, you know, great fighters, you know, boxers, or just fighters in general, you know, that beef themselves up. They can be doing this as a way of avoiding looking at their emotions because they were bullied as children, you know. And usually a bully will become a bully, you know. It's hurt people. I remember my time at school was very difficult, and I was bullied by a lot of different people, and I found myself in one situation physically attacking a friend, and I caught myself in that moment of, I'm becoming the bully. I'm becoming the person that's doing that to me. And I caught myself, which I'm really grateful for, because I stopped it. But what it did do, it took me to a place of wanting to end my life when I was about 15, 16 years old. Because one, I wasn't fitting in with my family. I wasn't fitting in at school. I was getting bullied, and also I'd started to see myself becoming these people, and I didn't want to be that. I wanted to be heart and love. I didn't want to be the abuser, the attacker, the aggressor. So luckily I saw it, but a lot of us don't see it, and then we go on to be the abuser, to be you know, the addictor, is that a word? Become the addiction, to become addicted to substances or something outside of ourselves that is numbing, you know, the void. So yeah, it's a big topic. Anyway, talking about my ability to bring in energy, and I sat with the energy of Amy last night, and she brought in this message to us, and hope that it helps on some level. I also ask for proof because I'm always questioning my ability to do this, and I got the proof at the end where I asked her about, okay, Amy, what's your favourite drink? What did you enjoy doing when you were on Earth? What's your favourite food? And I got that she loved smoking, which she could say, well, yeah, that's obvious. That she liked cocktails. I got mojitos, but there was another cocktail mentioned, but it was kind of cocktails that she enjoyed. And she said specifically jerk chicken. So I went on Google and put in what was Amy's favourite food, and there it was in black and white. It was jerk chicken, and she said with extra jalapenos, baby. And that was it made me laugh because it felt like it was her energy coming through. So I got the nod that, you know, what I've actually wrote down as an auto write, which I can do. It is her energy and the messages that she's bringing in. It actually made me cry, and that usually is a nod for me to know that this is coming from higher energy. So this is Amy Winehouse's message to us and anybody that's struggling with addiction right now. It doesn't have to be so intense all the time. Time doesn't matter in the big scheme of things on this planet. We make it matter. And sometimes I felt like I was running out of time, like I was running away from something, but I didn't know what, and needing to be somewhere. Where I was never enough. The drugs help for a short time, and you think you have it all in hand, and you're in control of it. But one day leads to another, and before you know it, you're staring at someone in the mirror you don't recognise anymore. Then what? Question mark. The drugs feel good. I'm young, I say. I can handle it. And it slowly creeps up on you. Everyone can see it, but you. And when you see that image staring back at you, the hate kicks in. And then that makes you want to take the drugs more and more to numb the hate. And then the cycle begins. It's so very destructive and beautiful all at the same time. You become a shell. You can't feel anything other than the intense hatred you have for yourself. The dark void is beautiful, numbing, and also the most destructive place. There's no light. You simply lose yourself. There's no joy, no love, no nothing, nothingness. Everything is good. Everything is going on around you, but you can't seem to connect to anything or anybody. Yes, I knew at one point, as much as I wanted to please my family and friends, I wasn't getting out of this alive. I tried, but I'd already made the choice somewhere in my mind. It simply wasn't going to end well with me getting out of this hole alive. And that's exactly what happened. The illusion is you feel free on drugs. No inhibitions. You feel free, strong, and like you can take on the world. But what we don't see is that we have to get off this merry-go-round at some point. That's when it hurts you, hits you hard, or it's simply too late. I've loved my time on earth. I love my family and my friends. And if I could do it all over again, I would do it the same way as it was my lesson. I just wish I hadn't caused so much devastation. You don't realise how much hurt you are causing to the people who have to stand by you and watch you slowly kill yourself. Earth is about connection, love and family. That's all that matters in the end. Thank you for letting me share this. I hope it helps someone. I love that my music lives on and it makes people feel good. That is all worthwhile. And I'm still singing over here. My advice is, this is Amy's advice, put your music on and find uplifting ways to express yourself. Let go of judging yourself. Be your unique self. You are a gift to the world. There There are things I'm proud of, and if I got to do me, all of me, then I'm happy. Don't hold yourself back. Don't have any regrets. Don't follow the crowd. Don't do it for the money. Do it because it lifts you up, and in turn you lift others up too. Addiction is simply a void that needs filling with love. I'm going to say that again. Addiction is simply a void that needs filling up with love. Face yourself in the mirror if you can and get really honest with yourself. That's the first step. And then share that feeling with one person that gets you. That's the second step. And then breathe. Just breathe and take one step at a time. There's no rush. Find a hobby that will humble you to stay in the present moment. Help other people. Be with that pet. And don't try and find yourself in another. Because the chances are the person that you have attracted will be your mirror of their own demons, creating a bigger problem. I love you all from my heart to yours, Amy. And then she went on to say, let out your inner Amy in all its unique weirdness. And I asked her what she loved and what she missed, and she said smoking cocktails, jerk chicken, and she loved putting her makeup on because it relaxed her. She loved kissing and looking at the stars because she knew on some level she was coming home. And she also said that the biggest and the best addiction to have is the addiction to yourself, to finding your inner love and your inner light. Make that your addiction. And don't stop trying to find it, because there's more and more and more beautiful gifts that come from that path and journey that you take. And she's saying find ways to relax without the drugs. Sorry about that. If there was a way to take the drugs without it causing the destruction, then that would be the perfect life for me, she's saying, but that simply isn't going to happen. Now I know it is possible to find natural ways to get the highs through love, and it's so simple that we miss it. Love is the best kind of drug. But I think on that, finishing there, and thank you, Amy. It's a beautiful message that she's brought through. It's not the love of finding it through somebody else. That is not the way forward. The way forward through healing addiction is to find the way back to you, your love, self-love. It can't be through another person. And usually when we're struggling with some kind of addiction, whether it's real strong hardcore drugs, or whether it's shopping, or whether it's eating, or whether it's, spending, sex, porn, whatever it is, it's all levels of addiction. And it basically is about the fact that we're not facing a self, and that we are numbing this void within the sacral chakra, the emotions, that is stunting our creativity. And once we heal that and heal the sacral chakra and the first three chakras, and we become safe and secure within ourself, we don't need anything or anybody to feel safe and secure on this planet. And that's something that came to me very strong last night. I've never felt safe within my environment. That's why I'm so protective of it. And it's, at the moment, this is where I live, and it's a very small, humble dwelling in a beautiful place. But for me, it's not about the size of it. It's about how safe I feel, because I didn't feel that as a child. Remember, I brought the energy of fear in to my body as I was born, through my mom and my mum's mum, and so it goes on, and the father line as well. My dad, incidentally, was a workaholic, and he had physical abuse on his side from his father. So he was brought up dealing with that, and I have compassion for my parents because of what they've experienced. You know, even though we haven't had a great experience as a connection in this lifetime, I can have love and compassion for their journey and the fact that they didn't mean to bring it into me. It came through them into me subconsciously. So I've healed myself enough to not look at them in blame or fault. I can look at them and say, it's okay. I did the work, you know. It's as long as we're doing our own inner work, it's okay. We don't belong to our parents. We just come through them for the healing and the experience. So if you are at a stage where you're still having a lot of fault and blame towards your parents or towards somebody specifically that might have abused you on some level, the answer to that is heal yourself, and karma will deal with anything else. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, if that person that abused you is not going to do the work, that's not your problem. You can still do your work and get the healing from that experience without them even doing the work. And karma, they will then take that karma into their next life. So it's nothing to do with the other person. Your healing has nothing to do with the other person. You don't have to speak to them. You don't have to have any connection with them. You don't have to face them. If that is a sexual abuser, or somebody that's abused you, or you've suffered trauma with somebody, you don't have to face them in order to heal. I'm getting that very strong from Metatron. You can do your work in your time and heal you and face yourself, and that is the healing. And that's got nothing to do with the other person. I think a lot of us are getting stuck, and I have, in this, well, you know, they did it to me. It's their problem. They need to do the healing and then come and tell me, and then I'll decide whether I'm going to forgive them or not. No, that's where you're getting stuck. You have to do the work first. And if you remember, we're energy, so you could write them a letter. You know, you do the inner work. You sit with yourself, you do meditation, you get help and support. And then by you healing you, you are actually healing everybody else involved in that situation, whether that's in real time now or in the past lifetimes. So it all comes back to self. How we heal ourselves causes a ripple effect of healing on the planet. So it's not about waiting for that other person, however much they've hurt you in the act of what they did. It's not about them. And that's the biggest lesson and eye-opener, I think, to this video. And again, that could trigger you. And you could say to yourself, well, I didn't do anything wrong. Why do I need to do the work when that man or that woman sexually abused me or raped me or, you know, caused me physical pain because of their abuse? I get it. I've had it. It's happened to me, you know, and it made me become a people pleaser. It made me become a workaholic. It made me become dependent on alcohol at a certain period of my life. It made me be very needy in relationships and give myself away too quickly. That experience made me play out those scenarios in my life. But it doesn't have to be like that. We can take control and we can bring it back to self, and we can do the inner work, and that is the healing. And it's got nothing to do with that other person. And if it's triggering you and you're angry and you're not prepared to do it, that's fine. But remember, if you're not going to do the work, you're going to stay stuck in this energy forever, and you will take that into the next lifetime. And that is life. That is how it works. So it's up to you. And there's various ways that we can heal through colour therapy, you know, wearing certain colours. If you see somebody wearing black a lot, it's because they're in fear and they're trying to ground themselves. Somebody that wears white, you know, that's attracting every colour. So they're in a place of, I'm in my personal power, I can cope with this. And it's only recently that I've been comfortable being around white or wearing white, because I can allow my light to shine out. But usually when somebody's wearing black, it's because they've gone into themselves and they're trying to protect themselves and they're in fear. Red is a really good colour to start to wear if you want to do this work, because it's very, it gives you your power back, you know, it gives you the drive back to succeed. And crystals, I've made a crystal grid with lots of crystals on, which I'll put a description of these. So we've got grounding crystals, we've got solar plexus crystals, we've got crystals for the bottom 3 chakras, we've got crystals for the heart, and crystals that connect with Mother Earth, and also copper, and also throat chakra crystals, because really a chakra set would be great, but they're going to be specific crystals that you can use. For instance, an appetite, this is called appetite, which is really good for if you are struggling with any food addiction. So it depends on your personal circumstances, and I can do one-to-one readings for this and coaching. I bring this into my coaching, so please reach out if you do need any support with that. But something like citrine is really good for helping you with your personal will and bringing in good energy and activating more of a positive outlook, you know, to your situation. Remember, you might have carried these emotions for a long time and you now want to let them go. And I promise you, if you do this work, you know, you will heal your addictions. It just takes time. Like Amy's saying, there's no rush. You don't have to rush this process. Time is an illusion. You're not going to run out of time. You know, I've been doing the intense work for the last 2 years on the back of cancer for 4 years. And so, you know, I've nearly done a 7-year cycle of really deep work, both physically, emotionally, mentally and spiritually. And my ego still kicks off about it. You know, when are we going to get back to what we did? Well, we're not. None of us are. We're taking on a different type of energy now, and we're moving out of the dense energy into a higher vibration, which is light. And in order to do this, and you will know if this is your soul's mission, which most of us, it is on this planet right now, because we've agreed to come here at this time through this massive change. And so it's not going to be an easy life that we've picked now, because we're doing the inner work. And remember, if we're healing ourselves, our ancestors are on the sidelines rooting us to do it, because then they get healing as well. So as I'm healing me, this healing is rippling out to my parents' parents, you know, grandparents, great grandparents, and they're all rooting me on, and they're giving me the strength to carry on, because they know how difficult this path was that I chose, and I chose it. I'll own it. Even when I'm on my knees crying, I can't do it anymore. You know, I just have to go to bed and get up and breathe and take one step at a time. So I hope this video has helped. And if you feel you want to bring in Amy's energy, you know, put her music on. She was singing to me this morning as I woke up. Get her music on. It will help. It might. She's saying my music perhaps will take you back in to the void. But remember that the void is a good place, actually. The way she's explained it is that it's destructive, but actually take the drugs out of the scenario. It's exactly where we need to be. We need to be in the void, because it's about death and destruction. So the death of the old, breaking down the shadow self, the thoughts and beliefs around these traumas that happen to us and this abuse. And that is going in the void. It's going into the dark night of the soul and not knowing what's going to happen in there. But what she's saying is going into the void with drugs is very, it's a dark place. You don't want to be there with drugs. You want to be there in your heart. And the first step to that is by reaching out and well, admitting to yourself and then getting some support. And so I do that kind of work. There are lots of other people out there doing the work, but remember, whoever you choose to get that support from, you really need to be doing the body of the work yourself. Ascending is about self-mastery. So it's not about putting your issues in a bag and giving them to somebody else to sort out. That's not going to happen. It's about owning it and asking for help, even if it's just a friend to listen, because by expressing, okay, this happened to me when I was 5, you know, I experienced this at 8, and just sharing what happened to you is the start, and that is healing in itself. And remember, after every scenario like that, when you do share, give yourself a lot of time and space to journal and rest, because remember, as you let this energy out, the body is going to start trying to recalibrate itself, and you will feel tired. Lots of water, be around nature, allow all this worry, stress and the emotions that you've been holding on to, give it to ground in Mother Earth and give it back to Mother Earth to alchemize. Get out in a body of water safely, you know, even if it's just putting your feet in the sea or in the river, as long as it's flowing and it's, you know, it's moving, and just it with intention. I'm releasing this now. It's time. You can decide in this moment, it's time to let that go. And like that, your body will start calibrating that information. You don't have to stay stuck in this anymore. I've suffered and struggled through abuse, sexual abuse, trauma, panic attacks, mental health issues with this, you know, really bad relationships that I mirrored, that I chose and mirrored to, you know, learn my lessons. I've gone through a lot of these addictive issues. You know, it made me be addicted to shopping or relationships or workaholic or sugar or alcohol, because that was my way of coping. But at some point, like Amy says, you have to get off the wheel, otherwise the destruction will kill you. In extreme situations, if it's to do with drugs, for instance. But alcohol is the same. It just takes longer for alcohol, you know, to break you down. So I hope you took something from that video, and if you want more information, please reach out and just be really gentle with yourself. We've got time. There's no rush. You know, love yourself through this, because I promise you, when you come out of these patterns of behavior, the relief that you feel is beautiful. And for the first time in my life, now I've done the work, I honoured myself last night by feeling totally, well, owning it all and facing myself in the mirror. But for the first time in my life, I really realised how safe and secure I feel within myself. And that's about nothing other than me. You know, I don't need anything or anybody to make me feel safe anymore, because I've got that within. And I think if you can get to that point, wow, you can take on the world. You can be anything you want to be, because you've got that safety and security within yourself. You're not looking outside for it. All right, guys, I hope that helps. I will I'm writing a chakra manual, meditation and grounding. So if anybody's interested in that at some point, it's going to be, you know, a few weeks yet, but I'm determined I'm going to get this out. And that will be a really good booklet, if you like, to help people through the ascension process, as well as facing these addictions. All right, guys, sending lots of love. Take care. Bye for now.